BT's Manitoba Pork Moments is brought to you by Manitoba Pork. Locally grown, globally preferred.
And in this Manitoba Pork moment, Laurel Lyons is going to finish off a beautiful, beautiful pork roast.
Yes.
This time we were doing it not only just because it's going to taste good, but presentation as well.
Right. Yeah. So we talked about doing using pork for like a more elegant meal, something you want to impress your guests with. So we used a Manitoba pork rack of pork.
Yep.
So what we did was we made some slits in the meat.
Yep.
We stuffed some slivers of garlic and some fresh chopped thyme in there, and then we seasoned with really nice coarse salt and coarse pepper.
Okay.
And that was all it needed at that point. So then we've got a really nice roasting pan. We want to keep the roast up off the bottom of the pan. So we're going to use a little bit of a rack inside the pot.
Okay.
We're going to bake it in the oven at 325 for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
So we want to get it cooking a little bit first before we start anything else.
Okay, so we're going to glaze this one. What does glazing do for my pork?
Okay, so glazing is going to just add some nice flavors. We're going to make the glaze momentarily,
Yep.
but we've got because it is a maple glaze, we're going to use pure maple syrup, and sometimes the sugars will burn.
Okay.
So we want to cook it for a little bit, get the meat cooking first before we add the glaze.
So the glaze doesn't burn.
That's right.
Gotcha.
We are going to keep glazing throughout the rest of the cooking time.
Yep.
But we don't want it to burn.
And the glaze is going to add flavor. It's also going to add a little bit of moisture on there.
Moisture, yeah.
So let's get our glaze going.
Okay.
A whole lot of pure maple syrup. We're not cheaping out on the.
We're not cheaping out on the syrup. No, we're using a nice pure Canadian maple syrup.
Beautiful.
And that is half a cup.
Okay.
So we're going to add that to our pot.
With the sweet, we go a little bit of bitter as well.
So that is our apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
And that's a quarter of a cup.
Beautiful.
And then the last ingredient for the glaze is a grainy mustard.
Okay, we want something with some bite, something that's going to kick in there.
Yeah, exactly. So we got the sweet, little bit of a spicy component.
Beautiful.
So we're going to add that. We're going to get that boiling.
Okay.
We want to just bring it up to a boil and then let it simmer because we do want it to reduce just a little bit.
So what kind of consistency? We looking for like a thicker syrup kind of?
Yeah, totally. Like
Okay.
we want it to thicken up just a little bit so that when we're basting our rack, it's gonna stay where we want it to stay.
It won't do the same job if it's down the bottom of the pan.
That's exactly right.
So how often do we baste?
So you can baste every 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
So this is a recipe that will require some care and attention.
So pour a glass of wine.
So yeah,
don't leave the kitchen.
Don't leave the kitchen. Continue doing other things in the kitchen. So once we've roasted it for 45 minutes,
Yep.
We're gonna then just start to baste with the glaze.
Yep.
Put it back in the oven, and then we're looking for an end temperature of about 155 degrees.
Okay, now because I have a bone in, I want to make sure I'm measuring my temperature exactly right.
Right, so that's the other thing is it's really important to have a really good quality meat thermometer, especially when you're working with a really nice piece of meat such as the rack. So yeah, you want to avoid the bone. You want to avoid inserting the meat thermometer at the bone. So you want to aim for the meaty part of the center of the cut. So somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
And you want to aim for halfway through the roast.
Okay, so when I get that temperature, then I know I'm good. Quickly, before I let you go, we're also talking about Frenching the bone.
Right.
What does that mean?
So when we French the bone, we've just taken, and a lot of times the butcher will do this for you, but we just want to take back some of the meat and some of the fat that's on the bone itself.
Okay.
To reveal the bone itself.
We want to have that nice look, we want to have that presentation,
Right.
because it isn't just about making their taste buds say wow, it's also making them say wow as soon as it comes to the table.
So once we pull it out of the oven, we want to, really important, we want to tent it with some foil, just loosely, and that allows some of the flavors to develop and the moisture to reabsorb up into the meat.
Just let it rest a few minutes and then your guests will say, wow. If you want information or how to do that recipe, you'll find all the links on breakfasttelevision.ca. Always amazing stuff when you drop by.
Thank you.
Hey, always a pleasure.
It's a
if I don't
pleasure
see you,
here.
happy holidays. Going to take a break. There's plenty still to come on BT. When are you cooking this? Because I want to come drop by.
Santa never used to look like this. He's traded in his reindeer for a limousine. He's wearing purple trousers instead of red and